my friends and my family. It's so delightful to spend this Tuesday with you. This is Elaine Bartlett, and this is the Purple Portal. And for over 1 year, you and I have faithfully stepped through the portal weekly, and hopefully stepping through this portal has brought you to a new position, a new platform of light and insight and hopefully healing. That was my intent, and that is the wish that I will hold for you as I go forward and as you go forward. So today I will share with you that this is the last broadcast of the Purple Portal until I am lovingly directed as to what next. Love is such an interesting phenomena. I did drive back yesterday, the past 2 days, from New Jersey, and I listened countless times to an Andrew Lloyd Webber song, Love Changes Everything. I want to say I think it was in Les Mis, I think so. And it's so true. And the first couple of lines are, love changes everything. Hands and faces, earth and sky. Love changes everything. How you live and how you die. So in this broadcast of mine for over a year, there couldn't have been more heartfelt love being beamed at each and every one of you. Interestingly, in my quest to hold the gateway, hold the portal open for each of you, portals have been held open for me and for my fearless radio station owner, Jeff. The two of us have had gateways opening for us. And it's a remarkable thing because certainly I did not understand that by my holding a gateway open, it would open gateways for me. But now that I put two and two together on a cosmic level, of course that's what happens. You cannot gift someone with love without love herself gifting you. So the portal, one of the portals that is opened in my life, well, first of all, it's a deeper and greater bond with my own nuclear family. And that's been a beautiful thing. The bond was always strong to begin with. Now it's tight. I don't know how that happened, other than love. Love stepped in. But another interesting thing that's happened, unwittingly, unsuspectingly, I was not looking for something, was stepping into the portal of actually cellular healing. And this is triggered by the new healing device that I have taken under my wings, although I will say I believe it's a she, the energy connected with the whole concept. It has taken me under her wings. So for the last 2 months, really without knowing much of what I was doing, or perhaps at times not even knowing what I was saying, because I'm not a scientist, but I am a lover. So with a heart wide open and anxious to show and tell and share, without exaggeration, I've touched in the last 2 months over 300 lives. And the miracles that I saw, one after another, actually gives me a lump in my throat. From simple things such as an actual physical sore back, sore knee, a young lady with braces who had sores in her mouth, everything healed. Everything healed. And this is the new wave of where we are. It will be cellular healing. It will be healing through energy. It will be healing through good intention. Do no harm. We sort of lost sight of that in some of the modalities on Earth. There will be no harm. And there will be, for those who are not afraid of disruptive thinking, there will be portals opened. And this past Saturday, I hosted a very intimate core group of women because as much as I love men, honestly, from what I see, it is the women now who must gently step back into the divine feminine power and really learn to flow the energy correctly. No force, no animosity, no pressure, just learning almost like you take your magic wand out. And for the past thousands of years, this great gift that women carry, which is their intuition and their sensitivity, it has been, well, they've been murdered for it, they've been brutalized for it, they've been pillaged for it, they've been silenced for it. But now we can step back. And now that I have a precious, valuable tool to help women and men become empowered again, that's the portal that's opened for me. And it's huge. When I saw over the weekend, well, actually over the past 2 months, when I saw women share this with their children, with their spouses, with their friends, with lovers, it was astounding. As soon as people could put down their mind and simply enjoy the energy and enjoy the wind beneath their wing, the dynamics of families changed. I can tell you I saw 2 or 3, no, more than that, a half a dozen families, whole nuclear families come together again. In joy, in strength, in healing. And I've known all of these people for many years. And the chaos and the disruption that seemed to be never ending in these families, it's now dropping away. Particularly, I smile when I hear perhaps a husband who's been indeed working very hard, but perhaps now embittered and grown into sarcasm just based on the pressures of life and the job. To hear them come home and say, yeah, let me just take 5 minutes and go work with this tool. Let me just go get on there, and then we'll have dinner. And then he's calm, and he's centered, and he's peaceful. And yes, the sore knees from too many sports and the elbows and the shoulders from too much of this, they're starting to work again. So it's a remarkable thing that I can kind of connect the dots and see it was very important for me to do this radio show. It was important for my life because it's led to a different portal. And it's been very important in your lives, whether you can recognize it or not. Some of you just will see your world differently, from a whole new perspective. One of the women that came, because for several times I've known her a long time, and I'm going to give a shout-out here, a shout-out to Dawn and her husband, Patrick. Dawn had a very challenging pregnancy, to say the least. Not only a challenging pregnancy, as Dawn puts the pregnancy, she said very graciously, she's late coming to the baby party. She's a late blooming mama. She's in her 40s. So you could imagine there would be a lot of angst and hardship to get pregnant in the first place. And then the pregnancy seemed to go on a long time. The birth was very challenging. And yet, in the final weeks of her whole situation, she came, and this tool gave her comfort and the baby comfort while still inside Mommy. So a big shout out to a new little being, Brady Kenneth, and congratulations to Dawn and Patrick and the entire clan on all sides. I know from coast to coast you have people cheering you on, and just best of luck. And I'm so sorry I couldn't stay to give that baby a hug, but it was time to return back home. So here's some of the things that I saw and learned in New Jersey. Well, first of all, I have to tell you, some of you will be needing to reach out to me and wanting to reach out to me after this show goes off the air. I hope I remember to tell you a few times how you can do it. Number one, go to my website. There's a way to message me right on the website, and that is Higher, H-I-E-R, Consciousness, CONSCIOUSNESS, higherconsciousness.com. So I look forward to having you reach out to me that way. If push comes to shove, you're certainly welcome to email me at Elaine, E-L-A-I-N-E, M as in Mary, B as in boy, 320 at gmail.com. Once again, Elaine, E-L-A-I-N-E, M as in Mary, B as in boy, 320 at gmail.com. For those of you who are actually in the South Florida area, Melbourne particularly, which is where I live, I'm beginning to conjure up some classes, certainly on the galactic calendar. I did teach it when I was up in New Jersey, and I know some people down here are hungry to learn how do you interpret this thing and what's it all about. So I will be doing that. And those of you who live between Melbourne and South all the way down to Boca, I do go traveling down there for consultations and lectures, so keep in touch. So let me give you some of the things that, that I saw and observed and kind of chewed on up in the Jersey area. First of all, because I drove, it's a blessing. It's a great gift sometimes to drive when you have the energy. I did think I was going to be there for about 2 weeks to 10 days. Obviously, it didn't happen because there is so much energy there, and there are so many people that recognize now the old modalities, the old systems cannot and do not serve them. The old systems are not making them well, they're making them sicker. So when a new system and a new kid comes back into town, it's quite wonderful. It's really quite a wonderful thing for myself and for themselves. So as I hit the New Jersey Turnpike coming in, there was definitely a change of frequency. And it took me a few days to adjust to the change of frequency. I actually felt I had landed on some very unusual planet. The system was fraught with a sensation of chaos, confusion, anxiety, people not really present. And anywhere I had to stop along the way between the beginning of the turnpike and when I finally reached my destination in northern New Jersey, that escalated. I don't know whether it's just the increase in people. There are so many people. But there's a sense of frenetic craziness I don't think they see it. By the time I left, I had certainly gotten much more accustomed to it, and I would find ways to circumvent it so that I didn't have to be sucked in by it. And certainly I would pace myself at a totally different pace, which was why when people came into my special space, they actually didn't want to leave because it was calm, it was peaceful, and it was healing. And that's what I ask each of you to embrace. That's what I ask each of you to be. That is who you are at the core of you. So why not now pay attention to that? Again, I'm going to say, particularly we women, as we get it, our men get it, our boys get it, our children, everybody gets it. So it's a case of really just honoring a gentler pace. There are some stores up there I absolutely couldn't go into. They were just, there was meanness in the stores. There was almost a sense of bullying needlessly. No one can look you in the eyes. And when I would stop them and look them in the eyes and sincerely say, whether it be to a checkout person, a waitress, a waiter, how are you today? And really mean it to the core of my being. It was a mixture of, I didn't know whether they were delighted or frightened that someone cared. So please take a moment. I don't care which state you're in. And as I drove back south yesterday and the day before, that was interesting coming the other way. I went through states where there's basically a hostility, oftentimes. And trust me, I go in with such an open heart to work through it with them, for them. I didn't care whether it was a 7-Eleven. They can't look you in the eyes. So it wasn't a New Jersey epidemic particularly. But when did we become so hateful toward one another? And why? Because as I started the show, it's love that changes everything. And you can see it in the way a person hands you back the change. You can see it in their faces. And it's nothing personal. They've just become so detached from love that they're hating themselves. And then any of us who are on the receiving end of that, oftentimes what I saw was hatred was returned with hatred, or disinterest was returned with more disinterest. And I ask you, stop that. It is you who will change the world, one by one. It may not be a big radio show. It may just be you stopped to give a hug. You stopped to wipe a tear. I think I talked about this last week on the show, but it really did leave an imprint. One morning I was going over to breakfast at the delightful residence inn that I stay in. I almost hate to tell where it is because they have promised me they will cordon off my room and make it a memorial. That's how much love was emanating from this room. The staff and I hugged and cried when I left. That's what we need more of. Kuan Yin was standing up straight and tall in my room, as was the Ganesh. But one morning I went over for breakfast, and there are two little guys, not so little that they wouldn't know better. They were like 8 and 10, and there was lovely petunia flowers on either side of the pathway. And these little monsters, and that's what they were monsters, were ripping the petals off of these flowers ruthlessly and stamping on them and smushing them. I couldn't even breathe watching this. And I thought, oh, geez, okay, here we go. And I gently, with great love, said to them, oh, fellows, these flowers have feelings. Please don't do that. You're hurting them. And the door flies over, and out comes the Gestapo mother. She had seen it all along. And I'm sure she kind of scolded them a bit, and they walked away with indifference, no sense of remorse, no sense of shame. And by the time I went back the next morning, all the flowers were wiped clean. Where was the mother? She was probably on her cell phone. Pretty soon, I think it's time for the universe, the great universe herself, to do away with these dang things, because they're robbing you of your humanity, as helpful as they are. But it's kind of like many of the tools we've been gifted with. They're helpful until we abuse them. And you abuse them when you're no longer paying attention to your life and you've become addicted to them. And you can't think straight without them. So what can I tell you? The other thing that I saw was an epidemic of anxiety. And this was true from 8-year-olds right on up to 50 and 60. And the 70-year-olds didn't seem too anxiety-ridden. It was more a case of the children. The children are a wreck based on overcooked, very overcooked, overscheduled, and over everything. So one day, this dear, darling little girl comes in, and she's 8, and she comes in to have something on her body adjusted with my happy healing tool. And her mother very calmly says to her, oh, why don't you tell Elaine about your anxiety? Almost as if it was a red badge of courage. And I'm thinking, what are we doing? And where is this thing coming from? And I really did not quite understand where it was coming from. But let me see if I can find it. I wish I could. I'm looking here for a note that, I don't know where it is. There was a book that someone shared with me that they had just heard a lecture the night before on anxiety. And it was pretty astounding because this was at a school. And the school spoke of, did I find it? No, phooey. The school talked, this gentleman who showed up, he had a fabulous book on what all of this electronic equipment is doing to the children. And the woman who shared it with me, it was very interesting. She said, I actually began to take a look at my life and what am I doing? And I know that woman really, I thank God she heard, but it was more important than she probably suspected, because last year, that woman simply had a complete, like an electrical meltdown. It's as if the universe simply pulled the plug on her. So what's happening is the anxiety is causing, the electronic stuff is causing, here it is, good, got it. Okay, so the electronic stuff is causing the anxiety. And I did speak last week about this Fitbit insanity that much of the Northeast is addicted to. I guess I'm very sheltered down in Florida. I had not heard of this. Every other person had on this Fitbit insane thing. First of all, your every move is now watched by Big Brother. I mean, really, come on. Your every word is recorded. your heartbeat, no. If you don't know whether your heart's beating or not, you're really in trouble. If you don't know that you haven't walked enough today, you need a monitor to tell you have not walked enough? Why have you given up your power? Where'd you put it? But that's what the dark force wants. It wants you to be powerless. It wants you to just go by rote and not think for yourself, no independence. You won't need any freedom, not to worry. And I'm like, whoa. So at any rate, please be careful of that dang thing on your wrist, because one of the energy healers up there actually tested someone and did determine that a great deal of their power was diminished by that thing on their wrist. So here's the name of this book, and I will be getting a copy. I will be getting many copies to be giving out, because this guy's got it. Here's the name of the book. It's called Disconnected: How to Reconnect Our Digitally Distracted Kids. Once again, it's Disconnected: How to Reconnect Our Digitally Distracted Kids. I don't know that it's on Amazon or anything like that. This fellow seems to just travel around, and the author is a gentleman by the name of Thomas Kersting, Kersting. My source said he was a fine speaker. This guy should be in every school. This guy should be everywhere. And may his book sell 20 bazillion copies. And yet, the sorrow is maybe it'll reach 20% of the population, because many of you have fallen asleep. Hopefully anybody who's listening to this show has not fallen asleep, because you're here to wake up. You're here to go forward with your life and get a grip on your own power. So that was a great thing up there. I want to also tell you, with this cellular healing, there's some things happening now on the planet that really I want to encourage you with. At this time, there's been an influx of light, and part of this came these past several months when all of these eclipses happened. There has been shift in the heavens. So with cellular healing, each cell of your body, which is a very unique individual organism, each cell has a memory, and changes are taking place in the memory of these cells. It's another reason why I'm really wired about this new device I'm using, because it's changing the cellular memory for people. So things that hung them up years and years ago, they're dissolved now. And that's pretty cool. The vibrant energy that surrounds the cells denotes healing. So there's more energy coming at you, both physically, energetically, and emotionally. And that's all going to lead to spiritual healing. So whatever you're doing, for those of you who are listening, know that I promise you, that's one of my last gifts to you, because I'm going to hold the frequency for you, that this healing energy will move through you to release your old cellular memories and allow you to feel physically strong, renewed, and energized. That's your natural state of health. That's where you want to be. So that's one of my parting gifts. Another parting gift is to talk to you about your own ascension. Your energetic field is in a state of change and expansion. That's huge. Embrace that. I'm going to repeat it. Your energetic field is in a state, it's actually of rapid change and expansion. And yes, it may be a little dark right now for many of you, but it's darkest before the dawn. Many of you, particularly those that we were together in New Jersey, you have begun to vibrate at higher levels of consciousness, and you are now more in alignment with your higher self. Many of you whose lives I touched, you are the forerunners working to raise the consciousness of the planet. And that's what we're here to do once we are healthy. Once we're healthy, we're in the trenches to help raise the consciousness of the planet. And that's what it's all about. That's why you took a body. You didn't take a body to have the next Prada handbag. I'm sorry. You didn't take a body to necessarily be so concerned about your appearance that nothing else matters. Certainly we like to look put together, if that's your thing. Some people don't need that. But there's got to be a healthy balance. The changes that you will be experiencing and are experiencing are not always comfortable. I promise you that too. But they are necessary for your continued growth. I was speaking with a beloved soul up there this morning. Her name is Kathy, and Kathy was so helpful to me during my time up there. Nothing was too much for Kathy. Taking me here, helping me this, do that. She was truly my earth angel. And I could see this morning, not because she helped me, but because she's helping herself. And Kathy, by soul trade, she's a therapist. And in this lifetime, she studied and is a fine physical therapist, but had to put that down when the children came along. But through the work she's done on herself all the time I was up there, which was enormous, now I can see it. It's a funny thing. Because of the work I can do, as you do your work, the third eye opens and you see things. I can actually see the true colors of this beautiful being. And the fact that she's been a healer many lifetimes over. Walked on dirt and walked, in places where people wouldn't walk, dispensing herbs, dispensing good counsel with healing. And it was remarkable to sort of see this unfurling this morning of magical colors around her. And that's what's the destiny for each of you. The true beauty of your soul is now beginning to show. And as it shows, this has a positive and uplifting effect on others. I have another friend, and I have to say I can't tap into the stuff she publishes, because to me she should know better. All she publishes is her angst, for the most part. And this was a sad day, and this was a bad day. What happened to that understanding that you rise above it? Why would you possibly drench the earth in the darkness that's happening to you? It doesn't help anybody. It truly does not, unless people get their jollies thinking, oh, God, she's really in bad shape. That means I'm a little better than her. No, you share the upside. If you've had a little downside, make light of it. Nobody's been born on this plane without some heavy-duty stuff. So what? That's what you came to deal with. Deal with it and carry on. But for people to stay locked in the grief of a something that's happened years and years ago? Oh, my goodness. This dear soul, all right, sorry, her mother passed a few years ago. Well, that's the way it is. You know, life is like that. But we've gotten so programmed and conditioned to deny death. And death is a portal. You took a body to finally reach that gateway. And that gateway is freedom. How dare we be so selfish to hold a person down here against their will? But it just speaks of how immature we are in our thinking and in our spiritual development. And that has nothing to do with religion. Your spiritual self, your higher self, is not connected to any, capital A-N-Y. It's connected to no religion. Religions across the board are divisive and separate. And that would give me a right to say, well, my God's better than your God, therefore I can kill you. And I can't step foot in your church or temple because, ooh, there's the devil. Come on. Would you all grow up? Really? We have to grow up. Put your religions down. Across the board, drop them. And wouldn't that be an interesting thing for religions, which are such a dang big business? They're just thriving on your contributions. If you would contribute to yourself, you wouldn't have to work so hard. What a concept. You could tithe to the goodness of somebody in a restaurant who took especially good care of you. You could tithe to the person who gave you a ray of light and hope. I mean, come on. Think. As a matter of fact, no, that's dangerous too. Thinking has become very tilted and stilted and narrow. So forget your thinking. Go back to being. You got it when you're just being. Be that expressive, wide open, loving spirit. Love changes everything. Yeah, I wish you could all call in because that'd be nice. But since I'm still remote, you actually can't. I'm so sorry about that. But I do want to pull up something else for you. Many of you have stepped or are actually about to step into what we call the frequency of black. And the frequency of black is the unknown. And when you step into the unknown, it's simply a time to be empty. It's a time to listen and receive rather than put energy out there. You know, it's interesting. For the next couple of days, I'm going to revel in the frequency of black and being in the unknown. I don't know what my next step is here in South Florida. I do know this. I'm here to serve, and I will serve to the best of my ability. But until I'm pointed in a direction of proper service for my skill set and my frequency, I'll be in the frequency of black. I will remain empty, and I will listen. I must have been in the frequency of black when I full-on heard 2 months ago, get in the car as quickly as you can and drive to New Jersey. And now I know most people can't operate their life that way. Well, actually, they could if you put down your fear. I'm pretty fearless in that direction. I had no idea what awaited me up there. You know, I used to teach and breathe and live feng shui up there. That was what I did. I had feng shui boutiques. And there's people who still must stand on that, and I appreciate that. But that's not my frequency anymore. Frequency's changed. I'm interested now in a more holistic, individualistic approach to simply getting you well. And yes, once in a while it's lovely to have an outer expression of it. But your wellness comes from within you. So don't be afraid of becoming empty. Many people are, because it means you have to withdraw inwardly. And that sense of withdrawing terrifies people. Once again, there was someone that I encountered up there. One job stopped. Well, their heart's palpitating already because they need the next job like the next day. No, you don't. You positively don't. You can't gain your footing that way. Yeah, but I've got bills to pay. Bills are always going to be paid if you trust. Here you go. Bills are going to be paid when you open up my book, Prosperity Portal. Every page reminds you of your innate prosperity. And if you don't have that book yet, please go on my website and order it. It's a very powerful tool. It's a wonderful tool. It's also available, let me tell you, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I always forget to tell what I'm really doing. Because this is the last show, please remember, I am here to serve. So when you need a consultation, go to my website, make an appointment, call me directly. Consultations don't need to be a full hour if that's too expensive for you. We can scale it to 15 minutes or a half an hour. But you're worth an investment for your peace of mind and for purpose and direction. So website, higherconsciousness.com. And I know pretty soon, I think we still have a few more minutes. I really want to take some time here and thank all of you. I thank you for really trying in your life to become who you are. I see that about you. I thank you for certainly tuning in. And I thank you for listening as you tune in. Sometimes we tune in and we're really tuned out, but many of you actually listened. I know you listened because you might send me a text or an email, something just a little bit encouraging for me. Good show, Elaine. Thanks, Elaine. We forget to give that to one another. So I thank all of you for the support, the encouragement, the dedication, and the time. Time is precious. And my real prayer and hope is that some word, some thought opened you, expanded you, gave you a sense of hope versus hopelessness. It allowed you some which way to step out a little more fully and do your part in helping this beautiful Mother Earth. Whether it be you were a little more generous of heart and spirit, whether you were a little more present, whether you took the dang Fitbit off, whether you put your cell phone down, whether you finally learned the microwave is not your friend, so please don't use it other than a lovely bread box. Fluoride toothpaste is not your friend. It's surprising how many people still didn't get that memo. So I'm even surprised that I'm directed to give that memo again. Full-on fluoride, it like drapes a sticky veil over the third eye, which is exactly what the dark force wants. Why should you have any power to see things more clearly? Would be their take on it. It's not my take. I want you to see things in living technicolor at all times. We are in this month of transition. We are in the dog month. And that ends, I think it's about November 6th or 7th. Well, I could tell you for sure here in a second. Sure, it ends November 6th. And then we go into the trilogy of winter months, which is pig, rat, and the cow. or the boar, I guess it's called, whatever. No, it must be the cow. So in the winter months, this is the cycle to go down under, to go within, and to really get in touch with that magnificent core of who you are. It is the dark cycle, if you will. So go into the womb. Bears do it. You do it. But during these final days of transformation and transition, ask yourself, what else is it I need to drop? Elaine's favorite mantra, drop it, just drop it. So take a good inventory and do that. One of the massive things, and I know I mentioned it last week, one of the massive things that I dropped during this Drop It month, huge, certainly is a paradigm changer. I really looked very carefully at mankind's, M-A-N, mankind's edition of the Bible. And I've taken a completely different view of it, staunchly, sternly. And now I'm starting to explore who wrote that, what were the implications for womankind, and now, geez, I'll probably have to write my own Bible one of these days. No, I'm being a little facetious, but I will write more books this year, and I will look very deeply into the role of that beautiful feminine energy and support women in their journey and support the feminine ray in men and ask men to get in touch with that and put down or adjust the set of the sails so that there is more of a nurturing sensation and more of a receptivity versus a brashness and an arrogance. And women, if you have become brash and arrogant, you're going to still need doubled up time on the feminine ray. So I hope, if nothing else, you know that I have heartfelt thanks for each and every one of you. I hold each and every one of you in my heart, carefully and always in my thoughts. The energies of this show, I designed it so that whether a person listened or not, around the world, that healing energy would seep in. You know, my work was kind of counterpoint to some of the radio hosts who are so harsh and so judgmental in their thinking. This was a show dedicated toward the ray of love, which does change everything. So I invite you and I invoke you to step up into that ray of love. Step up into that ray, which is the core of you. It is who you are. As you step up, you become not only a rainbow that we're used to seeing with physical eyes, you become a rainbow of such depth, such intensity, that the frequency of the rainbow touches other galaxies. It touches every system in this planet and every system in every other system. So become the colors that you are. Become the light that you are. Be that. That's all you have to do. Step into it. Be it. I've told you this in hundreds of ways over the past year. I've told you to drop it, and I've told you to carry on with great strength. So my love goes with you, each and every one of you. As I say, my spirit goes with you always, always and forever.